I'm sure most of you are familiar with the life and times of Count Dankula, or at least that one particular time that has now cost him going on 2 years of his life. He's a Scottish YouTuber who in spring 2016 created a gag video teaching his girlfriend's pug how to Nazi, and no details were spared. Buddha, this Reich pug, was trained to do precision Sig Heils. He spent his days viewing Hitler speeches and became totally focused on the one question to rule them all.
Jews.
Now maybe that gag is for you, and maybe it isn't. The great thing is, you always have the option to close the window and find something more suited to your taste if satirically genocidal, wrinkly-faced dogs aren't your thing. Unless you live in Scotland, that is, in which case the training of such canine comedians is criminal. So Count Dankula was arrested and delivered hate crime charges, as I said, all the way back in spring 2016. Flash forward to present, and the trial is still ongoing, with Lauren Southern reporting on scene in what seems like a process that will never ever end. If it's not dystopian enough to be arrested over a gag video, it's worse still to have 2 years of young adulthood interrupted in an ongoing and increasing drain of state resources.
The trial has now been delayed until the 20th of March, which means that when I appear in court on the 20th of March, my trial will officially have taken twice as long as the Nuremberg trials.
Jokes about genocide have officially become a more strenuous legal issue than the genocide itself. I keep my eye on this story because it's at the heart of a foundational question to which I always return. Do you want the state to have control over your thoughts, or don't you? A lot of what I read on the other side of this issue seems to think that state control of speech or thought is fine, as long as it's controlling stuff I don't like poor taste Nazi jokes. When you grant the state authority to control thought you don't like, there is nothing to stop the state from controlling thought you do. Whether we all like the joke should be an irrelevant question. The real question of consequence here is, should the joke be subject to state control? Some news coverage has better explored that consequential question than others. A lot of it gets fixated on incoherently trying to establish standards for what level of offensiveness should be permitted. But no other coverage has descended to the depths of dumpster journalism in this smear piece by Joe Bish over at Vice. Why alt-right vloggers are in Scotland to defend a Nazi dog. Okay, this title implies both that the dog is in fact a Nazi and that the dog is on trial. Nobody's defending a Nazi dog because a Nazi dog isn't being prosecuted. People are defending the creator of a comedy bit in which the dog is a feature character. I can't even get through the headline without a point of contention. And I can't get through the first paragraph either. Mark Meechan, Count Dankula, is not very funny. He is a YouTube comedian, which is a bit like being a Facebook philosopher or a Twitter politician. He's also in some hot water with the Scottish judiciary system. Well, aside from the fact that the President of the United States, the world's most powerful man, is legitimately a Twitter politician, imagine being this pompous and this self-important when you write for Vice. So tell me, Joe, what are the pieces over at Vice that give your publication so much legitimacy? Is it the story of Tranny Lloyd Christmas, who collected her pee for months to protest Trump?
It sucks to piss in a bucket nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and to carry your urine around on your back and on ice is a bit socially awkward at times.
Is it this open and honest exploration of male implants?
Gotta use 2 thumbs, get 2 thumbs on it so you can get it as hard as you possibly can. These are indestructible.
Or was it the time the company interns mixed and drank cocktails made from... Oh, what in the fuck? Or is it your personal work for this publication? Like your hard-hitting expose on roast dinners? Or your exploratory and technologically compassionate date with Siri? Or that day you spent completing online surveys to see if the money is any good? I wouldn't be surprised if that money actually is better than your current gig, but see, this is why people love your work, Joe. You're just so random. And that's refreshing. I never see that from other millennials. YouTube comedian isn't a thing, but Vice journalist surely is. So let's hear your hot journalistic take on the Count Dankula trial. Now Meechin is in court. He's being accused of perpetrating an anti-Semitic hate crime and could get up to a year in prison. In fact, he's been in court for over a year now. The first update for his case uploaded to his YouTube channel a couple of months after the original video came out. The furor has been covered by all your favorite right-wing media guys, Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, and even Canadian far-right RealDoll Lauren Southern, who's braving the bleak climes of North Lanarkshire to report on the perceived ridiculousness of the situation. Yeah, it's just perceived ridiculousness. On the surface level, it only seems ridiculous to use the power and resources of the state to pursue the incarceration of a man for training a dog in wrongthink for the purposes of a joke. Because when you think about it, it's actually far more nefarious. And we know it's far more nefarious, at least in part, because Count Dankula holds nefarious views. His YouTube page is filled to the brim with all the same awful opinions about feminism, Trump, politics, Islam, and political correctness, delivered as ever through the scope of a teenage boy, with gay jokes, cancer jokes, and a general willful misunderstanding and simplification of pretty much everything. So Count Dankula has horrible views about feminism, but you get to demean Lauren Southern as an actual sex doll. But it's okay because her politics are wrong. And women should all think the correct way. You know, the way that Joe mansplains to them. Is it really about women, Joe? Or is it about imposing your ideology upon people? Still, teaching a dog to respond to phrases like "gas the Jews" isn't banter, no matter how much you and your 4chan warped edgelord brain would like to think it is. People are obviously upset about it. YouTube could have just deleted the video, and we all could have got on with our lives, but now it's a thing, and when something becomes a thing, the opinions come out. And there's no more grating opinion than the right-wing free speech "can't you take a joke" crew. I'm old enough to remember when free speech and taking a joke were core principles of self-described liberals, but at least this guy doesn't pretend anymore. And I love that phrase. YouTube could have just deleted the video and we all could have gone on with our lives. Why can't you go on with your life without YouTube deleting it? And why do you want to set the precedent of forced deletion of controversial material? I can make a case that Vice's urine collection and bodily fluid beverages have no place in the public discourse using your same reasoning. And in that scenario, the only protection your publication has for its degenerate content depends simply upon who's in power and who's not. Mark Meechin has a lot of tattoos. Among them are W, A, S, and D keys used to control video game characters, a character from the game Limbo, a logo of EVE Online, a space game, and the character No Face from the Studio Ghibli film Spirited Away. In one video, he sports an Adventure Time t-shirt, a show on Cartoon Network. That's the thing about these guys, these fervent nationalists, supporters of free speech, i.e. people who want to be allowed to say the N-word and pretty much only that, anti-feminists, and the rest. They're all in arrested development. Interesting. Well, how about this? Your glasses are dumb, your fashion choices are dumber, and you're overweight. So stop eating Big Macs.
Maybe one more Big Mac.
But please tell me more about the inadequacies of others when you're tweeting about the difficulty of unemployment during a Pornhub outage. Now you're probably thinking, hey, that's not fair. Those aren't arguments, they're just personal smears. And you're right. So stop doing them. Count Dankula is not a dangerous criminal. He's just a lame guy with an almost popping YouTube channel who, like all children, thinks offensive equals funny 100% of the time. The cartoon-watching right-wing gamers of the earth should not be given so much airtime to make memes of themselves, which is the only thing they truly desire, and the only style of mucky attention that will ever sate their jejune lust for guffawing attention from other weak-armed, keck-praising, snot-nosed losers. Children who think offensive is funny 100% of the time, as opposed to sophisticated adults like Joe who think offensive is objective 100% of the time. What's offensive to you, Joe, is funny to me and vice versa. It's subjective. And that's exactly why we can't get nitpicky about what sorts of speech to allow or not allow. It's an astounding lack of foresight to think the standards you set for others could never be used against you. Joe, craft me an argument on why Count Dankula's joke is offensive and shouldn't be allowed airtime, as you put it, that couldn't be immediately flipped and used against the degeneracy of your publication generally and your personal work specifically. And if you have trouble doing that, might I suggest an alternative? Count Dankula gets to make jokes, and you guys over at Vice get to make biohazards, and all of us as consumers get to decide whether we would like to view the material or not. If you don't like Count Dankula's content, don't view Count Dankula's content. And I'll do the same with Vice. Or try at least. I gotta return occasionally when the role is empty and I need a replacement. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.